was 22 letters. And they brought this vowel in, which was Aleph. The very first letter was Aleph. Aleph, the fool. You know.
Which is the first card in the tarot deck.
Yeah, and that's where you get off on the wrong foot. You know? And make your alphabet, well, it went to 22 letters, and then 24 letters. The Greek alphabet was 24, and then the Romans come along and was bringing in another letter, you know, and it become 25, and then eventually 26 in the Anglo, you know. You look at early Anglo, you see that there's 25. The 26th letter didn't come yet, you know. But that comes with these revelations between language and number. Which can occur over, you know, a long period of time, you know, like Pythagoras, you know. The Pythagorean rectangle is 3 and 4, you know, and the diagonal is 5, 3, 4, 5. And they're synchronetic, you know. That there's whole numbers, and they add up to 12, key number, you know, and the 12 is indispensable in technology. You know, you don't have any organization at all of number in relation to anything else without that, you know.
So, you know, language is about communication and sound.
Supposedly, yeah.
Supposedly, right? It's at some level, anyway, some level of communication. And sound, it's very interesting because sound theory and color theory, you know, and particularly of late, people are really talking about the vibrational frequencies and how they match up. And I know in the work that you've done, you talk about...
Yeah, well, that's why this is called the Auric key. The prefix AU in Latin and Greek. AU, audio, in Latin. Aura, in Greek. So the prefix AU, which is basically aurum, gold, you know. The Auric key is a golden mean, you know what I mean? The give and receive, you know, the reciprocity going on there, you know. The tricky part of that, of the cycloreciprocity, is that the golden rule of Jesus is that mechanism of reversal, you know, but also the word revenge is also the same mechanism. This is the difference, too, between Jesus and Muhammad. Muhammad comes 600 years after Jesus, you know, and he made the notation in his book, the Quran. He wrote a book, you know what I mean? Jesus didn't write no books. He had 12 people to talk, you know?
Yes.
But he said, is it impossible for Allah to have more than one son? See? Well, that established him as the son of God, too, you know what I mean? So he got his faction going over here, you know what I mean, to oppose this faction over here and that faction there, the Hebrews and so on, you know, which is happening all now in the so-called Holy Land, you know, is you got these 3 camps going on, you know, major camps, you know, that are killing each other, you know, and it's over these differences in philosophy, you know, or actually the word Allah, or the word God, you know, or you can use the word nature. It's just as real.
Seems to me. I mean,
Well,
you know, have an orientation to
that's why
to
this
nature
might sound a little blasphemous, you know, to talk that way. But let's face it, you know, it's a word, a name, a num, you know. And that's what moves people, the word. The magic is in the word, you know. And that's what moves the heart. You know, I mean, it's not the head, not rationality. But rationality is in there, you know. And this is what gives me faith, is because when I saw that Jesus Christ was keyed in on this, you know what I mean? Otherwise, he wouldn't give those 7 critical numbers to John to encode into the writing of the New Testament. So So I got my faith in Jesus Christ through rationality.
Uh-huh.
You know, because I saw Jesus Christ was rational, or he couldn't have done that. You know what I mean? And this is something where I was in total communication with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something that you understand up here.
Yes.
And I also say that rationality could amplify our faith. You know, if we could be a little more rational, we could have more faith. You know, but being taught the wrong way, you know, that one is a number, you know what I mean, and so on. You know, you got Aleph in there, the fool that tricks your thinking. You know what I mean, and you're ignoring this retrograde thing that's going on. You know.
But let's see, the fool on the tarot deck is 0.
Well, 0 or 1.
0 or 1. Well,
Yeah,
I guess it is.
You can
Yeah.
add, you can either add or subtract 1 unit. You know. Because reversal happens there between 0 and 1. You know, 0 and 1 reversal. You don't have the 0 and 1 unless you got this mechanism, and that's what's being ignored is reversal. And Bucky Fuller, he had this bow tie, you know, which represented these 2 tetrahedrons. You know, but he didn't identify the point in between the right and the left. You know, and when he was talking about the retrograde happening in a number, he said numbers turn around at 50. They don't. They turn around between 49 and 50. That's his point. Between 49 and 50.
Yes. And that's the point.
49.5 times 2 is 99.
Yes.
So it clicks in with this 99 cycle.
Yes. And that was the specific point that you and he had discussion around.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting.
Well, he was wrong. I mean, he was wrong. If you graph it out, you see that numbers turn around between 49 and 50. And it's just like on here, 1260, the numbers turn around. They go backwards, retrograde.
So, you know, in some of the other systems, like, you know, how does this fit in with the yugas?
Well, those are calendric numbers, and they're a key to this whole system too. I mean, you know, that's where that big wheel comes into it.
Yeah.
You know,
Let me grab that big wheel. And so just for an orientation. And I'll just put that here and turn.
well,
Can I get you put a fresh piece of paper on
yeah,
here?
it don't matter.
Yeah.
There's 2 systems, 2 calendars that they had. You know, it's just like Sanskrit is like 2 alphabets in one. You know, the low arcane and the high arcane. 2 systems, okay? The same with the yugas. You got 432, 864, 1296, and 17, and then you add them up and you get 432, the 5th number. In other words, the sum of those numbers. The same over here. The ages were 648 and so on, and they end up with the 648.
Yes, the iron, copper, silver,
These
gold.
2 have in common is 1296, the square of 36. 36 times 36 is 1296. So 3 times 36 is 108, this number, So this is the inspiralment of 108. This is 108 increments, you know what I mean? And you go around 60 times and you get this number, see? And on this axis, you get both these sets of numbers. They all fall in this one. You got these 2 combs, I call them, you know.
Combs?
Combs, you know, like combs.
Oh, combs.
That show this system and that system and how they synchronize, how they relate, you know. And these counter spirals, you know, in other words, like these are synchronetic. In other words, starting here, it's hard to show this, you know what I mean, because it's but anyway, you have these multiples that go and they generate these 2 counter spirals that cross here and then cross here, see? And then they'll go around, you can extrapolate, they cross here again, see? So that goes on like forever.
Yes, I see where it goes off the chart over.
Forever is not rational, and like infinity is bullshit. That's not rational either. There's nothing that you can say about it, you know what I mean, that is rational, you know. So at some point, in order to make numbers meaningful, you have to cut them off at some point. You have to have a definite, finite amount to make it rational. If you go beyond that one number, then you got nothing, you know. It just goes on, confusion of numbers forever, you know what I mean? So you have to clip it off at a point. Well, this is clipped off at the octave. In other words, that's why I want to show 8 holatomes. Is all you need to see the patterns that go on to produce these synchronetic numbers, or what you call omnisynchronetic. It's like 2520 is synchronized all the base digits, you know what I mean, and then so on, you know what I mean, higher numbers. But they go off at this hyper octave, I call, you know what I mean. In other words, that's that number 12252240, you know what I mean, that reversible number, you know.
Yes.
That produces a 8-digit palindrome, you know what I mean. So you start out with an octave because you got 8 base numbers, you know what I mean, and that octave is preserved in these cycles that go, you know, and they click at 2520, and then they go on and they click at this higher numbers, just like these synchronicities. And why I call 210, 210 is 5 times 6 times 7, or 7 times 6 times 5, or 5, 6, 5, whatever. You know what I mean? In other words, those 3 middle numbers produce 210, and 210 is called a synchrostat. 12 of those, 12 times 210 is 2520. So the 12 synchrostats make up that synchronetic number, you know, which is another way of saying, if you put it in terms of a mandalog, that means a mandala with logic.
Yes, I like that word.
Then you have that. You have that 12 times 210 is 2520, and then it all becomes rational. You see how those numbers all click together, you know. In fact, you're looking at it with this picture. You can put it close to the camera. You can probably see it.
And this is this picture right here is that larger wheel right there.
Yeah, you can put this, hang this right in front of the lens, and he can focus it. You understand?
Yeah, we'll get a shot of that at a later time.
Well, this is a good time for it.
Yeah, but I think he has to do some special technical. Yeah, he can cut it in. Just do a cut on what we're talking about. Yeah.
It's important that you put these things down in a sequence, because they were discovered in a sequence.
Right.
And some of these things didn't come, you know, in other words, until later. I had to go back in the sequence to find out. So that's why it's important that I reveal these ideas in a certain sequential way.
Absolutely.
And you disturbed it just then by saying that.